I prepared some questions here, and I had to cross most of them off because you're so inspiring and you're so transparent.
Thank you, thank you.
And,
Thank you. Congratulations for such a wonderful event.
and also, you're so easy to understand. You're so reachable. I appreciate that. When I called you 4 or 5 months ago, I called this guy called Muhtar Kent. He is working for a global company, and his business card, his position is actually very short. Chairman. Chairman of the Coca-Cola company. Usually I meet people in global companies, their title is very long, you know, VP or EMEA or this and that. The longer the title is, the less important that person is, relatively speaking. And this gentleman is the chairman of the Coca-Cola company. This is wonderful for us. It's wonderful for Turkey.
Thank you, thank you.
Wallahi. Wallahi billahi. So when he was talking and he mentioned 770,000 people workforce, I bent over to the gentleman next to me. I said, he said 770,000. And I got the response, that's maniacal. From our part of the world, 770,000 people working for you. How do you keep an organization of 770,000 people motivated and innovative? Can you, I mean, it's easier with smaller companies. Can you enlighten a little bit more? Is it the systems, is it the people, is it a combination of all?
You have to articulate a good vision, which everyone understands, simple. And then you've got to make sure that you keep communicating all the time, being very transparent with all of them. And then making sure that they see you. You don't have to only, the need to travel a lot in large organizations is not because you want to see, but you need to be seen. And so that's what all our leadership team does. We never stay on the ground. We always travel. We always are with people, with our partners. Power of partnership is key, and that's how it works. It's worked so far.
Well, it definitely has. I went to Cuba a couple of years ago. They asked me, my friends asked me, what kind of place is Cuba? I said, are there any Cubans here? I said, well, the internet is slow to none, and there's no Coca-Cola. So this is how this company is infused into the
Soon, I hope.
Soon.
When our friends in Washington let us go.
You know, I met one of your colleagues in preparation for this chat last week. And he mentioned 2 things about you. One was never eat alone. Okay? I was going to ask you that, but you mentioned that. So one of the things I crossed out. The other thing he mentioned was the idea of freedom in a framework.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate it?
Sure. The idea of freedom in a framework is you have to ensure that people allow people to generate local ideas and local innovation everywhere. And we operate in 207 nations, and we have to, if people do not apply their local culture, local learnings to our business properly in the most effective, innovative way, then we are going to fail. We cannot dictate everything from the center. So we are a global and local business, a multi-local global business. That's how we frame and define it. And so, yes, there has to be some things that we need to ensure remain in a box about the brands, the artwork for the brands, the way they're written, some things. But then, once we define that box, then we let people, give the people the freedom to go and operate and apply all the local knowledge that they have, which is much more than the knowledge that we have about those places. And that's what the freedom within a framework is. We fine-tune it every year or once every 2 years. So it's an evolving framework, but and we add new brands all the time. And so even inside one country, we have freedom within a framework. So we just recently in the United States launched the first cold separated milk, which is becoming very quickly the #1 preferred milk in the United States. Milk, to commercialize milk, you need to basically cook it, which is called pasteurization, and you lose more than 60% of the taste of milk. We innovated and have the IP for it where we separated the 5 components of milk: lactose, protein, fat, all the components of milk in a cold process, and then we put it back together, and we can increase the amount of protein a little bit sometimes if we want to have protein fortified milk, reduce lactose for those who are lactose intolerant and so forth. And that is, when you cold separate milk, you retain all the taste. You don't lose any of the taste. So, and even with that product, it's sold in a slightly different way in California than it is sold in New York. So there is freedom within a framework, even inside one country.
So what happens? You learn you actually learn or create know-how in one country, and are you able to duplicate successfully?
We do. We apply whatever works in one country to other countries. It takes a little bit of time, but yes.
So that's the leverage of your intellectual capital within the company.
And that's the leverage of our international distribution system. We have more vehicles than UPS, DHL, and Federal Express put together around the world, visiting 27 million retailers at least once a week. 27 million retailers. And we also lend our distribution fleet to good causes like availability of medicine in Africa. We have an agreement with the Bill and Melinda Gates to a program called The Last Mile, where our trucks are able to take medicine to places where the Ministry of Health cannot take them. In Tanzania, Uganda, 12 African countries, and we were able to increase the availability of medicine by 40% in those countries.
This is inspiring. Bravo. So, I'm conscious of time. I know we didn't plan it like this. I think we should give, on top of what we have here, some more minutes for questions, if you allow.
Sure.
Okay? But before that, we discussed with your team the 3 W's. And the focus of, what were the 3 W's?
Water, women, and well-being.
Water, women, and wellness.
And well-being.
And well-being. Well-being, okay. So, can we talk a little bit about women and what your initiatives are about women?
Yeah. Again, it all started when I became CEO about 10 years ago of the company. I looked at our women leadership ranks inside the company, and they were not something to be very proud of. They were in the teens, 18% in middle management level, maybe 19% in top management level. And I said, well, who buys our products in the world? And the research came back and said 67% of our shoppers are women. And I sat down with the management team and I said, there's a big disconnect here. We got only 2 women on our board. We got 18% women leaders in the company, and we got 67% of the shoppers women in the world. So we went to work, and we've created, in the last 10 years, the numbers have gone up to 40%. We're not there yet because we should get to 50, but we're getting there. We now have 5 women on our board, and we're in the top 10% in the Fortune 50 companies. And so then we said, that's not enough. We need to go outside and create a program where we create women entrepreneurs. So we put a program together called 5 by 20, which is, in 2010, we said we want to create 5 million women entrepreneurs by 2020, 5 million. And at that time, the largest program of its kind was 10,000, Goldman Sachs, 10,000 women. So it's not easy, it's hard. what we do is we have NGO partners, power of partnership in every country that this program works in, which is, I think, 40 countries around the world right now, including Turkey. Tomorrow I'm going to be making a speech in a project called Kız Kardeşim.
Right.
We train the NGOs select the woman candidates. We train the woman in basic accounting, distribution, logistics, retailing, basic finance, hygiene, those kind of things. And then we have a credit facility with the IFC, 100 million, and they've just given us another $100 million microcredit facility. And then we connect the woman with a microcredit, and they're launched. And we will achieve 5 million by 2020. So we're at 3.5 million. We've got 3 years to go, including this year. We're going to get to 5 million.
Bravo. You know, you're such a great big company. Everything you do inevitably will have a positive or negative great impact. So what is the next big thing for Coca-Cola?
Well, I don't know what the next big thing is. All I can tell you is 1 century, 1 product.
Yes.
Last 30 years, 3,500 products. I think if you think this is change, you haven't seen anything. I believe the next 10 years, 20 years, the change will be much, much more intense. And so we'll all watch and see.
Bravo, bravo. So I have one personal question. What is next for Muhtar Kent? What does somebody do after becoming the chairperson of the Coca-Cola company? I'm very happy what I'm doing. I'm chairing a company that I worked for 40 years. I was the CEO for the last 10 years. I've got one of the most important things the CEO can do is have a smooth transition. I've got a very good CEO that I continue to mentor and continue to make sure that he's going to be successful, because that's going to be my success. And I think I'm on the board of 3M, but the thing that gives me most amount of pleasure is the scholarships that my family foundation gives to students from Turkey every year to go to the United States. We every year send 4 children to the United States on a full scholarship. And then I'm the vice chair of Special Olympics, which is Olympics for the intellectually disabled. That gives me a lot of incredible amount of psychic income. And I'm still associated with the executive committee at Davos, and it fills my time. And I have a little more time for myself, which I'm very happy about. Bravo. But just promise me one thing, whatever you do, just call me and I'll work for you. I'll work for you.
I'll come and work for you.
So shall we take 2 questions, Mr. Kent?
Whatever.
Any questions from the audience? I know we're not prepared for this, but there's one over here, and there's one over there.
Yeah.
Let's go over here. The questions are, you need to give $5 for each question you're asking. Go ahead. We don't have a microphone. We didn't prepare for this, so you have to talk loudly. Oh, we do have. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for the very inspiring presentation. Unfortunately, I'm not a Coca-Cola fan before now.
Before now. Before now.
Yes, I'm not. My name is Afolabi. I run a small company from Nigeria. I used to be a fan of your competitor until 3 years ago when Coca-Cola launched this campaign of identifying people individually. And I got to a store and I saw my name on Coca-Cola, Afolabi. I kept that product for a long time before my son, without my consent, drank it. So I still have the bottle. So my question is this. I'm a small company of 42 employees. I actually now at the transition stage of moving from being small to a bigger company. What can I do, in your opinion, to sustain the spirit of the people working for me, not losing the value of inclusion, closeness that we have, because that matters a lot to me. Thank you.
So I think if I understood it right, your question is, small company, few employees, what can I do to ensure that I keep my employees motivated? Is that the question? Yeah. I think you got to keep telling them what the dream is about, what the whole project is about, and keep them excited, and that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's, I think, what keeps small companies going all the time. That's what I see with all the small innovative companies that we partner with. You know, we have 5 incubation projects around the world, in India, in Mexico, in China, in Japan. These incubation projects are where small ideas, small companies like yourself partner with large companies, but we keep them outside, because if we bring them in, they will get trampled on by elephants. So we keep them outside, get the ideas flourishing, commercialize them, and then bring them in. And so you have to start looking for partners and start articulating the dream better and better every day to your employees to keep them motivated, hungry, and ensure that they see also the light at the end of the tunnel that you see.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please stand up and go ahead with your question.
No, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Good. Okay.
Microphone is coming.
Good morning, and
Good morning.
thank you for the discussion, for the knowledge you have passed across to us. My name is Lawrence. I'm from Nigeria. I run an automated block making company, and my question has a little semblance with what you do in terms of using water. In my case, I use sand, and we have to go to communities to excavate this sand, and you know, it does not leave the environment the same way. So you said that Coca-Cola is doing so much in becoming water neutral, and I was going to ask that in the case of Cape Town, where they had water deficiency, and water being a major component of your raw material, if I'm allowed to say that, what are you doing to prevent such from happening? And in a case where they had water deficiency, how is your company positioned to continue its operation without being affected by such?
Yeah. Well, your continent in Africa is the one that we have 65% of our water replenishment projects. So what water replenishment project means is that either we take contaminated water, no matter how contaminated, and convert it with a special process with vapor, and a special process that, again, we have the IP for, into sanitized water, drinkable, potable, and in some cases, even medical sterile water. That's one way. Second way is we capture rainwater that basically goes into rivers and seas and give that water to communities in Africa. We have in 14 African countries water replenishment projects. In Nigeria, in South Africa, many parts of South Africa, we have these special solar-operated kiosks that convert contaminated water. But obviously, it's not enough. We need others to follow us. You know, the water that we consume in the world, 500 billion liters, is 6 months of the supply of Mexico City. 6 months. And so the important thing is what we are doing helps to bring about respect for one of the most important resources in the world. Because there is not enough respect for water in the world today. We need to improve the culture for respect for water. And so when a company like ours becomes water neutral, hopefully others will follow, and that improves the respect that is much needed today for a better world for the next generation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Thank you.